So we're up to pasuk. Perek Mem Aleph pasuk Lamed Beis. Va'al isha no yisachalo el paroi pa'am v'yim. Ki nechoin hadavar me'im v'alihim u'maher v'alihim la'asusay. On the repetition of the dream, paroi 2 times. So that sounds like a redundancy, repetition, right? Pasuk says repeated pa'amoyim. And in fact, at the end of the pasuk says 2 things. Nachoin and Memah. So many learn, the Ramban and the Benez, a little bit of Yosef, that in fact there are 2 things in the narration of the pasuk. There's the fact that the dream was repeated in various ways. One was with the cows, one was with the storks. That's Hishan Noisach Elohim. There were 2 different ways that the message was presented. And that it was Pamoyim, that it was in 2 separate dreams. I woke up in between it, like asleep. So you have one dream where it presents an idea in 2 different messages. Could have had it all in the same dream. That indicates the fact that the message is repeated in 2 different ways. That indicates Nachoin Hadavar. It's fixed, set. It's like reiterated. The fact that it's twice after you had the dream, you had another dream, is to say, don't push this off. A repeated dream tells you that it's coming soon. Why? I don't know. I don't know why the 2 means. But nothing means it's fixed. Nothing means it's fixed. It's immutable, like MS nothing. And it's happening soon, right? Now, so nothing means it's fixed. It means it's not going to be retracted. And of course, that's a major question about nevuah or predictions. Can they end up not coming true? When we read in Ma'ir this, that in Yirmiyah, Perek Chav Ches, it talks about if a nevuah doesn't come true and it was a nevuah of Shalom, right? That's the nevuah of Shalom is the test. Nevuah Perek Chav Ches pasuk. Perek Chav Ches pasuk test. It's very difficult psukim there. Question what they mean. But in Perek Chav Ches pasuk test, it says if a navi prophesies a Shalom, then when his words get fulfilled, then we know he's telling the truth. Which many learn to say that Shalom cannot change. So here where Yosef committed that his prophecy or his prediction is all about Shalom power. So consistent with that, he says it's nothing. Right? What?
Doesn't sound great.
Doesn't sound?
Great.
Why not?
Cannot be great.
Oh, okay, but right, it's true. Right. In economics, this element is not yet. I don't know. Right. Okay, fine. True. Now, yeah, that's true. That's true. But there's something complex over here, which we're going to get to. We'll talk about that a lot now, which is that the prediction of the famine was not fulfilled. At least not completely. Because when Yaakov came, according to the Medrash Chazal, only 2 years of growth. Okay, we'll get to that soon. So let's just learn the psukim first. So he says like this. He says he interpreted the dream not just that this is going to happen, but also that's nothing, and that it's going to happen soon. Why is this important? So that brings us straight to the next pasuk. Va'ata yerefara. Va'ata, there's some insistence there because this is not just a possible something that might happen in the future, or something that's likely to happen in the future, something that's definitely going to happen in the future. There's no way out, so we have to deal with it. The answer is not, okay, let's hope, maybe not, let's change our ways, let's daven. No. But Ata, you got to deal with it. And Ata, because so you can't say, okay, let me think about this, I'll get back to you in a while. So that's the introduction, right? Pasuk Lam Beis introduces us to Pasuk Lam Gimel. Since it's Nachain and Maher, therefore, that's what we got to do. Okay? Now, welcome. Sean's going to get home. Can you get water? Thank you.
This is real.
Oh, okay. Let's get that both. Okay, so we're speaking about Pasuk Lamed Beis, where Yosef told Paro that the fact that the dreams were repeated Pamoyim means that it's nochain and happening quickly, and because it's nochain and happening quickly, that's a hakdama to Pasuk Lamed Gimel, where Yosef says Va'ato Yereh Faroi, meaning since it's nochain, it's certainly going to happen. It's going to happen soon. Therefore, you better deal with it, and you better deal with it now. That's why it's important that it's going to happen. That it's certainly going to happen, and it's going to happen now. You compare this to Daniel. We spoke about this a lot. Yosef is in the court of Paro, and Daniel is in the court of Nebuchadnezzar, and many, many parallels which we don't have to review. But one of Nebuchadnezzar's dreams was that he's going to lose his kingdom, or lose his position at least. Right? This is in Parak Dalit in Daniel. Parak Dalit in Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about a tree being chopped down. And it says a pasuk Tezayin. I'm just noting this for a reason. We'll get back to it. That Daniel was Nizbohil, and he was quiet. He was shocked for a moment. And the king told him, don't be shocked, tell me what this is about. And he told him, you're going to lose your kingdom. You lose your kingdom. And in Pasuk of Daled, he gives him an Eitzah, like Yosef gave an Eitzah to Paro. And the Eitzah was that you should do good deeds, and that will postpone the fulfillment of this dream. And indeed it was postponed 12 months. Okay? So Yosef is giving an Eitzah to Paro like Daniel gave an Eitzah to Nebuchadnezzar. But Daniel gave it an Eitzah to Nebuchadnezzar to push it off. Yosef says there's no pushing it off. There's no pushing it off. It's happening. And therefore, the answer is not to find some schus to delay it, but rather, ata yereh faroi, you have to deal with it. Okay? Now, why does it say yereh? I just want to comment one word on the yereh paroi, because paroi, as Yosef says, Hashem showed him something. It's looking like a hera on the faroi. He's being shown something. So he's been shown something so he can see what to do. Okay, so now let's go back to the point I raised this right before you walked in. Yosef said Nochen Hadavar. Nochen Hadavar means it's fixed, it's immutable, it's for sure going to happen. But the fact is that Yosef's prediction didn't quite happen. Because he said there's going to be 7 years of Rav. And as Chazal say, that the Rav only lasted for 2 years. And that when Paro came, when Yaakov came, the Rav stopped. Right? So here Yosef says it's Nochen, and it's fixed, and the fact is it wasn't nothing. Okay? And ever since Ramban asks this question, Ramban asks in the end of Parshat Vayigash, Rashi speaks for Chazal that the Rav was for 2 years. Ramban asks says, okay, so lo niskaymu divrei Yosef kivus Surayna. The Yavai ha'inyan lachshel Yosef b'chachmasai. I mean, cast doubt on Yosef's chachma. Right? Cast doubt on Yosef's chachma. So I wanted to say that Nechanami, of course, it certainly does. Yosef said it's nothing. He said, not only did he predict that this is going to happen, but he said it's nothing, which means it's fixed. It's not going to change. And this wasn't true. This wasn't true. Okay? So it didn't happen. Now, it didn't happen as he said. What's the significance of that? And why is that? Is what we're going to talk about. So firstly, this is your first time here, right?
Okay.
What?
Okay.
It's the first time. Okay, so firstly, like this. I want to just do a lot of things. Everything builds on previous things. It's always building and developing. But we still follow a lot. A lot of previous tushtel's that he worked. Okay, so firstly, like this. What Paro told Yosef after he told him his dream, Ein Novoin B'chacham Kamoicha. There's no one who's Novoin B'chacham Kamoicha, and that's of course Yosef told him you have to find Ish Novoin B'chacham. And Paro told him, Ein Novoin B'chacham Kamoicha. So we spoke about this in the past, that there's 2 places with Nevi'im talk about the same psukim that are meramis to this parsha. And one place they say that Yisrael is loy ambinois, and Hosea says about Ephraim, which is synonymous for nation, kihu bein loy chacham. And we don't look at the psukim again inside, and what the rayas are that those psukim are referring to the Yosef story. But the point is that when Paroi said Ein Novin Chacham Kaloicha, which obviously means no one, literally means no one as wise, Novin Chacham as you. But it's like a medrash of that, the Nevi'im, is that in fact something in this story points to Yosef being Ein Novin and points to him being an Ein Chacham. And that's of course because of Yosef's being busy with dreams. What's Yosef's being busy with dreams? What's that about? It's something we keep on talking about, just to review. In the beginning of Vayeshev, we have, of course, Yosef having his dreams, and his brothers hate him. And the reason why the brothers hate him, actually before, over there, in the beginning of Vayeshev, and put together with Sefer Yemir, the reason why the brothers hate him is because he's a dreamer. And the brothers, like Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, are looking for Nevuah, which is the Dover, which is the word of Hashem. The fact that Yosef looks for things through dreams as an alternative to Nevuah, and therefore they have a major problem with Yosef. That's the problem with Yosef. If you can have Nevuah, then you wait for Nevuah, right? Because it's better to have Shishim than to have Echad Shishim. Shishim is always going to be, not going to be the same Vados. It's not going to be the same certainty as Nevuah, right? So Yosef, meaning Yosef is trying to figure out his destiny and the destiny of his people, and he's relying on dreams. And that is the problem. They hated him al Dvorov. That's why they hate him, for mixing Chalomis and Dvar.
So it's kind of like catch-22. Yosef's trying to be a little bit more pragmatic by using what's available now to try to build a trajectory for the future.
Exactly.
Whereas the Achim are saying, wait till Nevuah comes, but they're looking at Chaloim, something that's also not pragmatic.
No, you can work towards Nevuah. You have to wait for Nevuah comes. You have to work towards it to get it.
A few, dozens of years till then.
Perhaps it was a few dozens of years till Yosef's dreams came true anyways. Right. No, I mean, look, the idea is, just for kids, the idea is that Nevuah is, of course, for Eretz Yisrael, but also for a time of revelation. And dreams are for Galus, which is why Yosef's dreams end up bringing him into Galus. And Daniel, who's a big dream guy, is also in the court of the king of Babel. So Yosef is anticipating by his dreams that he's going to lead him into Galus, where dreams is going to be the way to go, because it's not Nevuah. But that's something that's a big threat, a big problem. The idea that we're going to have, that we should not work with Nevuah is something that the Achim are working against.
So they saw the Galus itself as part of the Redifa?
Yeah, you could say that, right? What are you busy with the Galus for? Like, let's deny Galus or something. Now you forget, could that have worked? Whatever. I mean, obviously you dare take it and get Zarachim, that's on the hand. Okay.
The Mapilim came out of which something?
Yeah. No. I know. It's a little off. What? I get it. I see where you're going. No, I don't know. Look, no. By the way, just in terms of questions are always welcome. I try to do like this. No, because it's recorded. Questions that are negea for the flow, please ask. If something's not clear. But other ideas, I'd love to hear afterwards. Keep it there. Okay, so basically like this. So in Echanami, Yosef told Paroi that it's nochayin, and this is certainly going to happen, and his interpretation, and therefore he was considered to be a Navi Chacham, which in fact the Nevi'im call him, and take a look at the Pasuk Yeshai, this I want to show you. They call him Ein Navi and Ein Chacham because in Echanami, whatever happens to Yosef is ironically indicates the opposite because there's some problem, some imperfection what he's doing. So look at Yeshaya Perek Chav Zayin. Yeshaya Perek Chav Zayin. Again, I can't really, I don't want to go each time and show you all the psukim here, so you'll just have to take it on faith or listen to the previous show to see. This is talking about anything to do with our parsha. It happens to be this is the haftarah to Parsha Chumash about the coming down to Mitzrayim. But many psukim over here are a drasha on the coming to Mitzrayim of the Israel. And there says a pasuk in Aleph, Bivosh Ketzira Tishavar. When the kotzia dries up, let it break. Which the Gemara in Babasa says means don't give schusim to goyim and don't help them out. So, as we discussed, Pari is having a dream that basically his kotzia, the kotzia of Mitzrayim, is in big trouble. And Yosef saved the whole Mitzrayim. Right? So what was Yosef doing here? Yosef came and offered Betzin to save the whole Mitzrayim. Not only did he offer that, even before he heard the content of the dream, he told Pari, which means he's committing himself to making things good for Parai, right? Even before he knew what the dream was about. We spoke about this at length. So that's because Yosef sees himself, look, I'm in Golus, and you have to do Spalo B'Shloim Shalmach, otherwise everyone's going to swallow each other up, which is the message of Ativlano. You have things swallowing up each other. If there's not Shalom, the whole empire is going to collapse, and Yosef is there. So therefore, he saves the empire. But as the Navi Yeshaya says, Navi Yeshaya talks about what's the true Shalom and what's the Shalom of Mitzrayim. It's not the right Shalom. Okay, the point is that by Yosef not allowing the Katzir to just break, instead, when it dries up, let it break. Instead, he saved it. Therefore, he's called Loy Ambinas. So everything Yosef is doing here, on one level, of course, it's great Chacham and Bina. He's able to interpret the dream. But it also indicates to the fact that there's a lack of Bina, because why is he saving Mitzrayim? Why is he working with Mitzrayim? Elamai, he has to take on some of their deficiencies, some of their whole Mahalach. And therefore, he's not a nothing. And therefore, again, his prediction of Nochain Hadavar Im Elokim is actually not fulfilled the guy. But I have to say something. Was it fulfilled or was it not fulfilled? Meaning, even though it wasn't fulfilled, it's not Stam that the Rav ended after 2 years, right? That's Stam. Okay, you're wrong. He says, 7 years was really 2 years. It was really 7 years. But Yaakov came in the middle. And right, Yaakov came in and it ended. And if you remember, we spoke about the Medrash that says in the Yechezkel talks about 40 years of Mitzrayim having desolation, because really it's supposed to be 42 years of hunger, because it's repeated 6 times, 6 sets of 7 in the Parsha, in Parshas Miketz. So it was just delayed, meaning Yaakov came in and put a stop to it, right? So it sort of was in sky and sort of asking. I just want to make that. Okay. Now, Yosef said, "Nochad Adam Elokim Umar Lekim Lasei." So take a look at Keheles Perakei. Again, this is something which is Nidrash and Parsha. In fact, Keheles is all about starting from Sarmashim Sarifim, right? Starting from the end of Vayeshev, not before that. Starting from the Sarmashim Sarifim, Keheles is the key to Perak Mem and Perak Mem. Gracious. But in Keheles Perakei, it says, what?
Some of it is before.
Some of it before? Mine, what was before?
It's,
yeah, it was in Keheles. I don't remember. But Eish Betifa. Yeah, a little bit. Right. Chayin, yes, had chayin. Okay. It says in Keheles Perakei, Al tivahel al picha v'libcha al yimaher lo hatzina v'lefnei halikim. Ki hu halikim b'shamayim v'atoh al ha'aretz al ken yudberach al me'atim. Ki v'ach aloim b'rov inyan. Now what this means is, and this is review, so I'll just tell you the way it is without the ra'is for this. Halikim b'shamayim v'atoh al ha'aretz is one statement. In Yirmiyah Parakaf Gimel, where Yirmiyah says, don't do dreams, instead do Nevuah, he says, Halekei rochik ani v'lei halekei karev, halayis hashamayim v'ha'aretz ani molei. Misasa ish b'mistam v'ani lo yirani no Hashem. So therefore, which means, Hashem is available to you. Hashem is on the Aretz, and therefore, you should have Nevuah. Here in Keheles, it says the opposite. It says, Halekim b'shamayim v'atoh ha'aretz. And the next passage talks about dreams. Because if Hashem is far away, that means you can't have Nevuah. Because again, take a look at Yirmiyah Parakaf Gimel. It says that and therefore don't be busy with dreams. Instead, you should have Nevuah. That's what it says clearly in Yirmiyah Parakaf Gimel, Pasuk Chaf Gimel and Chaf Dalet. And by the way, in the beginning of Vayeshev, where it says it's a remiss. That's what it's remiss. That's what Yirmiyah is being dersh that pasuk, that they consider him to be mirachik and not karev. They say, "What are you doing? What type of business is that?" Hashem is karev. You're a dreamer because you consider Hashem to be rachik. That's why you're busy with dreams instead of having their voice, and that's why they want to kill him, because he's mixing tevin with bar, as the Navi says, right? In Yirmiyah, that having a dream is like straw, and the word of Hashem is like bar, like the grain. Okay? So that's what it says in Yirmiyah Perek Gimel, Pasuk Chav Gimel, Chav Dalet, and Chav Hey. It says Hashem is in the Aretz too, and don't be busy with dreams. In Keheles it says God is in the heaven and you are on the earth. And then the next pasuk talks about dreams, right? But it says also in Keheles Perek it says Libcha al yimaher lo hatzidavim. Don't be so quick to assert something. So I want to assert that this is a drasha on Yosef saying, which and Pasuk is telling Yosef as it were, don't take chaloim so seriously either. Because say they has a chaloim, say there was repeated. Roiv inyan. That's roiv dvarim. And don't be so sure that this is what's going to be, and va'ata, here's what we gotta do. You have to be a little bit more hesitant. Right? And who was more hesitant in terms of interpreting a dream? Daniel. Right? Because as we saw in that pasuk, Daniel was the Zbahel, and he waited a moment, and the king said, no, tell me, right? Then what did he tell him? Your kingdom's coming to an end. Okay, we can push it off a little bit. But it's not, but Yosef told Parai, you can save everything. I'm committed to Shlem Parai. And Kelis is saying, don't be so quick to say you're in control. And you can take care of everything, because if that means you're not in control. It means you don't know what's going on. Okay, that's one place. Another place is like this. Another place is in Tehillim Kuf Mem Ches. It's also a pasuk we spoke about numerous times. Again, can't talk all this. How I know? In Tehillim Kuf Mem Zayin. I'm sorry. In Tehillim Kuf Mem Zayin, where it talks. Let's start from. Let's say pasuk Yudal. Some givul shalom chiluf chitim yas bi'ech. So who gets shalom and who gets chiluf chitim? Gvulech. Because here the pasuk is contrasting Yerushalayim and other nations, Yaakov and Israel and the whole guy. Some givulech shalom chiluf chitim yas bi'ech. Yosef gave shalom to Parai, and he secured his chiluf chita, and that's why it says in Be'alef, it talks about Yosef coming out of Mitzrayim, Be'achilim, Chiluf chita, Mitzvah Devashas B'Yaakov. Yosef told Parai is going to have shalom, and he gave him chiluf chita. And really, Mesani Hashem Yichachu Shuloi V'Yitam Lo'elam, as we discussed. And here the pasuk is saying, you know who gets the shalom and the chiluf chita? Gvulech, Banayich. Hashalech imrasa oretz and meheretz devarei. Hashem's word does go to the oretz, and His davar comes mehera. So here the pasuk is saying, like it says in Yirmiyah, that Hashem fills the heaven and the earth, and His davar, His imra, and His davar comes to the earth. And you can listen to it, right? Magid devar v'Yaakov u'mishpat v'Yisrael. So there also, Yosef is saying, "Memar lekim la'asaysai," and he's doing this based on a dream. And really, the Nevi'im are saying back to Yosef that you shouldn't be Memar based on a dream. And in fact, you can get the davar and the imra of Hashem could be Memar. And that will tell you what to do. But that depends on, as it continues to tell him, and it's in Shelach Atomer, Kfer Kirfi Fazer. As we discussed this last week in Yeshaya, it says that the word of Hashem is like the rain. Like the rain comes from the Shemayim, so the word of Hashem comes from the Shemayim. In Mitzrayim, there's no rain, which is what this whole dream is about. Right? It's about the river. They don't rely on rain. Okay? I don't go into that too much. We'll talk about that too. So therefore, in Mitzrayim, they can't have the davar. They don't have the rain, they don't have the davar. They have dreams. But the Maisa, the Klal Yisrael stands for Shnei Chibas Ha'aretz, Amei Ha'aretz Devari, and the place of Eretz Yisrael where it's dependent on rain, and the davar comes from the Shemayim. And Magid Dvar L'Yaakov, Chubushat Yisrael, Lo Yasachei L'Chol Gav Shvat B'Yidon. Pari cannot know the davar. So on the one hand, Yosef is telling him something, and on the one hand, it does come true to some extent, but on the other hand, he can't have the full truth. He can't know everything. As it says, Balidon. So I want to say that's why Yosef's prediction in Taka was not in this game fully. Okay? So far so good? Or not? I don't mean to say you have to accept it. I'm saying
sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay. Right. I'm not 100% sure about the sheesh. No, this is not from the most certain sheet. Okay. I want to talk about another thing now, related thing.
The machlokes of the Achim and Yosef was ever reconciled, or this machlokes Tilheim is still passing going on?
No, I don't know. It's an interesting question. I mean, what do you mean reconcile? Meaning, Yosef was a major threat. Yosef was a major problem. Yosef was presenting a major problem. You have to understand, it's not reconcilable. Meaning, the question is, what if they would have killed Yosef? What would have happened then?
The could
No
have
dream.
died from starvation. It's hard to know what would have happened.
Right. Or they wouldn't have gone to Mitzrayim. I'm saying he schlepped them down to Mitzrayim in a certain way. That's another story, right? Oh, because you're assuming. Okay, what would have happened if Yosef would have let Mitzrayim collapse, right? Okay, that's a big question. It's a major question, right? You don't know what would have happened then.
You suggested.
I mean, according to Chazal, they had food. Yaakov had food. Shlomo destroyed. It looked like he had food. Whatever. That's not the question. It says in Yeshaya. What it says in Yevin Yeshaya is basically that if Yosef would have let Mitzrayim fall apart, everything would have been fine. Yosef was worried because he's worried about Shalem Par because he's in Mitzrayim. Right?
What about
really he could let everything fall.
What about Donan Eichit? Did Yosef know that?
Okay, that's a good interesting question. That's an interesting question. What would happen to that? Right. The question is, could be that it could be Miskayim in Yosef. Could that be Miskayim just in Yosef, who was an Eved in Mitzrayim? And V'inu Yosef, Inu Ba'Kevel Ragel. So Yosef was an Eved V'inu. Could it have been this guy? Okay. So you always have to ask these questions. What could have been? It's hard to know. But that's not the way to learn it. I'm
saying till today, maybe the best malachas shouldn't be with dreams. Like what's the?
It's interesting question. No, in Galus you need dreams. In Galus dreams are the best thing. No, if you have Hester, look, it's beforish in Yemri unless the Shemayim is Male. It's beforish in Keheles so the Kimashmayat Alaret. It means there's two Mahalchim in this world, and that's why Yemri says you can't. There's no hiding from Hashem. And you start this Mr. Manila Yavenu, and obviously if you're saying that means there's another tzad. The taka is not okay. So there's two midas. There are two midas that are noig ba'elam.
Right. Kind of also that Levi is in Yirmiyah is from Shepkuna, which is Levi, so that still very stark in that shita. Shlomo is coming from Malchus.
It could be.
And Yudah goes in the front of Goish.
I don't know. It could be there's different places for different ones, right? It could be. There people different ones, right? And everyone has to fight for their thing because that's also human nature. That's also correct. And so to figure out who's right is not always mean what I think it means. Okay, well let's go right. So now I want to say another point. Another point is like this. Yosef says if a dream was repeated, that means it's going to be for sure fulfilled and soon. There was another dream that was repeated, which is Yosef's dreams. Right? Both of them involve the Shtachavayim. One of the Alumis, so same thing. There's a repeated dream and a variety. There's two things in this pasuk: Kishonis and Pamoyim. There was two ways that it was presented and it was repeated. So the Yosef was like that.
So the Mashal asked the question.
And does it? Yeah. I saw the Rishayim ask. What does Mashal say? So the Rishayim asked the question.
They're not together.
Not the same night. Many Rishayim. The Skuna and the Rishbam says not the same night. Okay, but why is it a problem? Obviously, it's a problem because we're not coming to answer a kasha. We found that a rule that if a dream was repeated twice, it's a sky miyad. Teretz is Yeshleim another tonight, which is loy muskar possible. That's obviously doesn't fully answer the question because here the pasuk is telling us to look at this and ask the question, right? So where's the pasuk goes the answer? Saying this, right? There's something it has to be built in. You can't just add it tonight and say that solves the problem. You read this parasha, you're supposed to say, repeated dream happens over there. What? That's not true, right? And yes, it didn't say anything to that in the same night. Okay, so now. The emes is like this. I think it made me realize you have to go back to Vayeshev, and this explains the pasuk in Vayeshev. The pasuk says that Yosef had a second dream. He told it to his brothers, right? And Vayiga boy Aviv, Vayikanu boy the Aviv shamas adava. So, in other words, Be'etzem he had two dreams, and two dreams means there's something that's supposed to happen fast. But Vayiga boy. And, in fact, what happened next? He went to Shechem. His father sent him to Shechem. And he gets lost in the Sodom. And we know what happened there. And as we discussed then, in Malachim Aleph, Perek Yud Aleph, Yeravam is outside of Yerushalayim, and Achia Shiloni finds him Baderech, and he's wearing new clothing, the pasuk says, and they were out Basodeh. And Achia takes his thing and rips it and tells him, I'm giving you the malchus, right? So Yosef, when he's going to Shechem, and if Vayimtzeu ish v'hinei toya basodeh, it's like Vayimtzeu ish Achia shloi and novi badech, v'shneim levad basodeh. So Yosef was supposed to become the melech right then. Yosef was supposed to become the melech when he goes to his brothers. Like David became the melech when he went to his brothers, he left the tzayim and he went to his brothers. Okay? We spoke about that too. In the beginning of Vayesh. So he's supposed to become the melech when Yaakov sends him out. Tells him Vashiveni Davar. Lechno Shloim Achech Shloim Atzayim. is Vashiveni Davar is Chumash Davar is waiting for the Dvar HaMelucha. It's called the Dvar HaMelucha. And Yosef is supposed to become the Melech. But because Vayikanu Bayachiv, therefore it didn't quite work out though. So in other words, on the one hand, the Melucha, Dvar HaMelucha is imminent. In other words, imminent that there's a koyach, there's a reason, there's a drive, there's a push that should be imminent. But mitzad sheni, there was Vayikanu Bayachiv, and therefore that's going to hold it back from its imminent fulfillment. Okay? Mashenkin here. There's no Yosef says everything's fine. What?
David's brother is also Mekan.
It's interesting. That's interesting. I think it doesn't say Mekan, right?
Well,
They got angered, right?
okay.
Interesting. So now like this, so it comes out the following. So Yosef here says a dream that's repeated is nothing. Yosef's dream that was repeated. It's Nachon and Maher. Yosef's dream was repeated, and at least it wasn't quick. It didn't happen quickly. But I want to say it's also not Nachon. It's also not Nachon, because whatever kingdom Yosef gets is not Nachon. What do I mean by that? Because by the kingdom of David, it says in Shmuel Bey's Perek Zayin, three times in that parak, which is that parak is where Hashem tells David he's going to get a dynasty. And that dynasty is going to be Nochai. Shmuel Bey's Perek Zayin, Pasuk Tez Zayin. V'ne'eman beischa mamlachcha ad olam lefanecha, kis'acha yeh Nochai ad olam. And V'achinoisi in Pasuk Yud Beis, and V'chananti in Pasuk Yud Gimel. And I don't see the other Nochai, but it's somewhere there. Okay. Somebody think.
Didn't work out so well.
Oh, there it is in Pasuk Haba. What, David's not Nochai?
No, that's wrong. Just saying the Malchus didn't last very long.
No,
The
but the point is, Ad Olam. Look, that's a kasha. That's a kasha that asks in Tehillim. In Tehillim, it says, Mom says it's kasha, basically.
Also, David had opposers. He had his own son opposing.
Yeah, we see that, but it's still an olam. It's still an olam. And you see, I'll be there, Munos, Shaz, you believe that he's Mibashir from David. That's an olam.
But if nothing's going on ad olam, there's nothing going on his actual Malchus itself during his
No, I don't know. It's an interesting question.
If it's going with the actual Malchus, he had many.
Yeah, because that's what it says. I don't really care to answer the kashas on the pasuk. So it does say it's nothing, right? Oh, you mean? But it says nothing on your parent also. It wasn't this guy.
That's what I'm saying. According to your Rabbana, what nothing has to mean that it's concrete.
No, right. Okay, good to say that. The fact is, just I don't know. If you want to know, that it says Tehillim Peites Eson Ezrachi has the same kasha. Yamati Olam Chesed Yibon Shemayim Tochin. Okay, Nishbati Lo David Adi Ad Olam Achin Zarecha, and everything's going to be awesome. I think it says Nachon over there a bunch of times too. Maybe not. Kapanim, it says everything's going to be great for David, and Mamish almost 30% about that. Kirech Yiko in Olam, there's another Nachon. And then Pasuk Lamed Tes says, I don't know what's going on over here. Vatas Nachta Vatimas, the Artabis of the Ratagadir, the Bezat, and everything's awful. What's going on? What happened to Yeshua? And that's how it leaves it. It leaves it with the Grace of Kasha, and that's what ends with Ikvus Meshichecha, which is where we get the term Ikvus Meshichecha from. It gets it as a big Kasha. Okay, fine. But on the other hand, it's at least a Kasha. Meaning, at least Eson asked the Kasha that it's expected to be done, right? So I'm saying, and there's an answer. The answer is Ikvus Meshichecha Baruch Shem L'Olam Invalim somehow, whatever. Leave the answer to the future, whatever the answer is. Okay, so Yosef's dreams, again, so I'm saying like this. Yosef also had repeated dreams. And Yosef's dreams were not Nochain, and not Memaher, and I want to say also not Nochain. Same way they were Memaher, they're not Nochain, because there's a problem. The problem is Veikanu Bayecha. That shows that there's some sort of tension. It can't actually be fulfilled, as opposed to the other person who's going to become the king in a similar way, which is David going to his brothers and sent by his father to his brothers, where he becomes king. Say that without going into all the connection to Yosef. That kingdom is in fact Nochai. And going back to Malachim Aleph Perek Yud Aleph, where Achia tells Yeravam, I'm going to give you the kingdom, right? Taking it away from Rechavam. So he says over there in Malachim Aleph, Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Lamed Dalid, Pasuk Lamed Dalid. Merchavim is called the Nasi Ashisen. He'll be made into a Nasi Ashisenu, Kol Yimei Chayev Laman David Abdi. So Rechavim is going to be a Nasi Ashisenu, and you're going to be the king. And here, in our Perek, the next pasuk, Yosef tells Paroi to be Yere Paroi Shalom Chacham V'Yishiseu Al Eretz, right? To get that position over Eretz, because Yosef is not the king, only Paroi. Yosef gets a position of being over Eretz, and because Yosef's kingdom is not complete, and when his descendant finally gets what Yosef was supposed to get when he went to his brother's Basada, right? So David gets Ashisenu instead of Yosef. So there was a story in Vayeshev and Miketz where Yosef's thing doesn't quite work out, and it never ever works out fully. But where it's the Torah describes it as, the Navi describes it as, like the story of Yosef becoming king in the right way. He's wearing a Samach Hadasha, like Yosef has special clothing, whatever the meaning of that is, and it gets ripped, but there it gets ripped and it means he is becoming king, as opposed to in our story where it gets ripped, it means he's not becoming king, so on.
Wait,
there,
Yosef was got ripped also?
yeah,
You mean that? You mean the Sama?
Yeah, the sense pass. Yeah, that it took the sense pass.
Ripped from his strengths, from his ranks, not ripped from the actual character.
What? Said that it took the sense pass. Let's look. Okay, so there, the one from David gets Ashisenu, and in our story Yosef gets the position, which he said. Okay, and another thing is like this, as we've been discussing. So Yosef guarantees Shalom Paroi. He guarantees Shalom Paroi. Why does he do that? Because obviously he's very afraid that if the Mitzrayim is Yikaris Haaretz Barav, right? He says V'lo Yikaris Haaretz Barav, because if it will be Nichras Barav, then he's in big trouble because he's there, right? Because he's there. So now I want to take you back to something we said in Yirmiyah. Perek. What's this? Right. Perek. Lamed Gimel. Perek Lamed Gimel of Yirmiyah Pasuk Yudalet. There it says, Yirmiyah Lamed Gimel Yudalet. Hine Yomim Boim Nu'um Hashem HaKimosis Hadover HaTova Shedibarti Al Beisol Al Beis. We spoke about this in the pasuk of Hu Adavar Asher Dibarti, whatever the connections were. Here it says Adavar HaTov Asher Dibarti. Adavar HaTov Asher Dibarti is on Beis Yisrael and Beis Yehuda, which is that there's going to be a Tzemach HaDavid, Tzemach Tzedakah, etc. And pasuk Yitzayin says Koyam Hashem Lo Yikaris LeDavid Ish Yesh HaKisei Beis Yisrael, and the kind will be Lo Yikaris Ish L'Fanei. So there's guarantee that there won't be a Karis. David, there won't be a Karis with the kind. Yosef is afraid that the Haaretz will be nichras me'arav, so he has to scramble. He has to do something that he might not really believe in, which is Shalom Paroi, because he's afraid. He doesn't have a guarantee. David has a guarantee, so the Malchus that's nothing has the same lo yikaris, and therefore doesn't have to do the same concessions, right? Doesn't have to do the same concessions to Mitzrayim. Of course, the Nevi'im are screaming against don't go to Mitzrayim. Don't have to work with Mitzrayim. Yosef didn't have to do it. He's not Nachon. He has a risk of karis, of being nechras. David doesn't, and therefore he doesn't have to do the same things. Okay. So.
Is that why you're not allowed? You're not supposed to ask for help from yourself?
Yeah, sure. But that's meaning if you have a Nevi'im, whatever. If you have something else that works, right? You have to have a Das Hashem to not need Mitzrayim. Okay, I want to say one last point, and okay, it says like this. Yosef said in the next pasuk, "V'ata yera pari ish novin chacham b'shisei al time." So he wants him to have an ish novin chacham. Why is an ish novin chacham going to help? Because an ish novin chacham is the one who's going to obviously take care of the economy. That's the thinking, right? But what it says in Keheles is loy lanavonim oisher, loy lachachomim lechem. So that loy lachachom lechem, loy gam loy lanavonim oisher. Why? Next pasuk says there, ki gam lo yeda ha'adam es itoy. Because a person doesn't know when the ace is coming, doesn't know when it's going to turn on him. Meaning you can be a chacham and an oven, but you never know when things will just flip, when your fortunes will switch. Okay? Then the pasuk says, I also spoke about this a lot in the beginning of this parak, the beginning of this parasha, and in the end of Vayeshev. The next pasuk in Miguel says, "There's a little city, Ir Katana B'Noshen B'Ma'at, V'Vo'ela Melch Godel B'Sav B'Isa, U'Motza B'ish Miskin Chacham U'Mila Tu'Yisir." And Medrash says that's talking about Mitzrayim, the Melch Godel is Paroi, and Yosef is the Ish Miskin Chacham who's able to save the whole city. So the pasuk says that the Chacham has loy lechom lech loy levay levay, and then it talks about the Chacham comes and saves the city. So what's the answer? The answer is because the pasuk says why loy lechom lech loy levay levay, because they don't know the ace. Ki lo yeda adam es itoy. In other words, if you're a Chacham, you have lechem, you know any levay, but there's a problem. The problem is Keheles has this whole doctrine of the itim. That it can be this kind of time, that kind of time, and you never know when it's going to bump into that time because you can't know the future. Yosef, as the pasuk says in Keheles, an ace boy dvarei. Imras Hashem surfas. That means there was a davar. Yosef had a sense of a davar in the future, but it wasn't the ace yet. So when Yosef had his dreams, it wasn't yet the ace for it to be fulfilled. Why? Things weren't worked out yet. Right? So it's not the ace. It's not the ace of the davar yet. When here he's now in the Mitzrayim, now he knows the itim. He knows it's the ace. Now it's the time for something to happen. Now the dream is going to happen in its time. Okay? So basically the point is now, as long as you're able to predict the future, you could see the times, you can see the doctrine of the itim, then the chacham and the dvarim will left. Okay, the kids. So just to wrap up the points, just to see if the points come together. Yosef said that it's Nochain and Maher, and therefore Ba'ata Yer Para, you have to do something about it. And Nochain is suspect, because it wasn't Nochain, right? So what I mentioned before, it wasn't. Why? Because it was Nochain until Yaakov came, right? Which I think means like this. Now I think what we know that there's about. The reason why it's not Nochain, the reason why it's not Maher, is because it says because dreams are suspect, dreams are problematic, right? But Lemaisa, on the other hand, Yosef does work with dreams, because dreams are what you work with when you don't have nevuah. So I think maybe this is speculative. Yosef's dreams work until Yaakov shows up. Because okay, now Yaakov's here, so now we have a Navi, right? So in other words, like the tension in Yosef's dreams in the beginning of Vayeshev, Yosef has a dream which the Chayr is repeated, the Chayr should be fulfilled, but his brothers don't like it. Why? Because let's do nevuah. So then the dreams are delayed. Now Yosef is in Mitzrayim, there's no nevuah, so now Maher and Nochain. Because that's what's going to happen if there's no nevuah. This is the way to go. But if the Navi then shows up, and let's go ask the Navi what he says. And he says, there will be water, there will be a sulfur. The dream said there won't be, the dream said there won't be, the Navi said there will be, right? So maybe that's what I said before, it's sort of this guy, sort of not this guy. And Yosef's lack of Nochain in his dreams is reflected in the fact that David does become the king, right? When he goes to his brothers, his kingdom is Nochain. Yosef's kingdom is not Nochain. And also, just to review, and also we see that when Yosef, the descendant of Yosef, gets back to kingdom, the one from Yehuda gets this Ashisenu, which is what Yosef asked for in Pashas Miketz, to be almost king, right? And the fact that Yosef is almost king, Chayr suggests that also a little bit of a lack of fulfillment of his dreams, right? That Hamalach Timach Aleinu, well, he's not quite a melech, he's a Mishnah melech, right? He's a Nasi. Not a Nasi, not called a Nasi over here, but similarly, he's a second in command. He's called Yoshes. The king will place him on that. So too, that's what Yehuda gets. That's what Yehuda gets when Yosef gets back his. Okay, that's the point. All right.
Although technically